Robotnik shows Tails where the main reactor to the Death Egg is, and the two of them would start examining it and in hopes of repairing it. Tails mentions that the insane level of technology on this is quite impressive, to which Robotnik states out loud that, of course it's impressive, it was made by me, a true genius. To which Tails says something about geniuses and, well, it's always good to be smart. Meanwhile, Amy and Knuckles start training, and they start fighting and stuff so that they can actually stop and, get ready for the fight in hand with the Time Eater. Knuckles claims that this time will actually be successful. He will be able to not only take back Angel Island, but also he'll be able to collect and defeat using the Flames of Disaster. And Amy basically agrees with him, and the two of them continue to fight. Meanwhile, Sonic considers thinking of joining them while training to fight, as he runs around the Death Egg to investigate all sorts of different things. He sees some of the other rooms kept in different parts of the Death Egg. All of these different parts, which are quite impressive to be honest. He notes that Eggman must have had somewhat of thousands upon millions of different things. He then discovers something quite unusual, a shrine dedicated to Dr. Eggman. Stone then walks in saying that he shouldn't wander too far, Hedgehog. And Sonic asks why does he follow someone like the Doctor? To which Stone replies saying that he is the key to the future. He can create anything, a world order ruled by machinery. You gotta say yes to that. Plus, he's a visionary, a genius, a mastermind. And I want to be on the winning side when it's all over, so I can be at his side when they rule. Just then, we outsee the Death Egg as it's still being fixed and worked on by some of Eggman's badniks, including his Builderbots, which we saw in my Sonic Movie 1 rewrites. As they begin to build around the Death Egg, they begin to get rid of some of the rock debris that's sitting on top of the volcano. They would start to remove pieces of it to scrap it all together, in hopes that perhaps maybe the Death Egg can eventually fly again. Which, hopefully, it can. But meanwhile, in the desert, the Time Eater is busy devouring anything in its path. It begins to summon more and more different black holes, using them as potential ideas, and to just extract stuff, and to even bring in stuff from Sonic's world, including the loop-de-loops, mountains, and, well, even some of the, wildlife. Meanwhile, Team Dark will be leading the Time Eater outwards and not into a city, hopefully to keep it contained to make sure it doesn't go for anything populated. However, the Time Eater decides to have some fun, and he creates an entire army of Time Sonics, which are just these little kind of drone-like Sonic creatures without much thought. They're basically pawns for Time Eater. And Team Dark begins to fight them off, but quickly realizes that there's way too many of them. But Shadow, he removes his inhibitor rings and charges through them all, destroying every single one of them, blasting it all. Omega ripping some of them and just slamming them together, and Rouge using some bombs to blow up a couple of them, as well as kicking some of them. The Time Eater compliments Shadow on his skills, saying he would be a useful asset to him, especially when it comes to the use of time travel. Omega begins to fire up at the Time Eater, who then dismisses all of the bullets, saying that it was pointless to do all of this, and besides, he now has his own army, a time army, to destroy anything that stands in his way. He will destroy what remains of this world. And who knows what will happen to the rest of time? It's a mystery. But this will be the undoing that will lead to the future, as he shows a massive army of Sonics, symbolizing that it was Sonic that made that mistake to destroy the Time Stone, leading to the Time Eater coming to Earth. The Time Eater then continues to think where Sonic could be, as he wants to get rid of him personally, along with the traitor known as Silver. Considering that Silver decided to leave, he hopes that he can find Silver to maybe perhaps persuade him back to join with him, or basically just to kill him entirely. And we would see the Time Eater continue to rip open parts of the world. He would then decide to do something very unusual. He would create a ripped hole portal, and would of course talk to Ivo. Ivo is busy looking around in a spare room when he overhears a noise, and he sees the Time Eater in a Sonic form. He explains that the others are worthless to him, and that everything he does is there for a reason. Think of the power he could have. With all the time in the world, and their power and genius, they can rule over time and space. Robotnik denies it at first, but perhaps considers the idea. However, he gets back to work with Tails to work on the reactor core, and as it stabilizes, the two of them begin testing. They realize that the energy for it is not exactly as good as what it used to be. And Tails asks, what does this thing run on? And Robotnik replies, normal gasoline, meaning that it runs on petrol and, well, any sort of other car sort of vehicle fuel. Tails mentions that they may need some more kind of electrical power for it. Robotnik does mention that there is an electrical engine so that it runs on electricity manually, but that also got damaged. So the two of them begin to work on a new engine that will be able to completely dwarf the original, making it not only more powerful, but be capable of different abilities. But Tails stops Robotnik halfway through, asks him never to use this against him, to which Robotnik replies he can never promise that. As Robotnik gets to work building the engine, Tails would look around in the lab being amazed at Robotnik's tech, but he would deny it and continue working. Meanwhile, Silver would be looking around as he would hear the voice of the Time Eater constantly in his head, as he just can't get over the fact that he was stuck with the Time Eater for so long, and that he was his only friend, a very untrustworthy friend who didn't really want Silver to be happy, and he forced him to be in a horrible future. He didn't give him an option to change the past. But now that Silver's got that option, he's definitely going to make the right one. Robotnik continues to think about the idea of ruling over time and space while fixing the eventual reactor. He begins to contemplate just on how much of his grandfather failed, considering he wanted to destroy the world, but he remembers that he's got an IQ of 300, and he wants to rule over the world, not destroy it. And he begins to plant the seeds of doubt in all of Sonic's friends. However, as the rest of Sonic's friends are outside training, doing some, landscaping across the island, traveling around, whereas Silver is, observing the nature life here, and surprised that Robotnik hasn't got rid of it yet. Sonic is surprised too, but not massively. Knuckles begins to punch some rocks, throwing them around, and, we would then see none other than, they would just continue to train and fight. Knuckles and Sonic would fight, of course, do a fight training montage. We would see the two of them are evenly matched. We would see Tails and Amy learning to fight. Silver would, of course, be planting some flowers down below. And we would see a lot more of what they're actually doing. Meanwhile, with Robotnik, he begins to hit another message from the Time Eater, telling him that he plans, if he's interested, then meet him at a city location, bring the Death Egg, and together they will take over all of time and space. And Robotnik agrees. And the Time Eater tells him that there are traitors in the mix, that being Silver, but he knows how to deal with the Hedgehog. Leave that to him. And Robotnik agrees. He then contacts Stone, telling him they've got a new idea and a new goal in hand. And Stone agrees. Stone listens, mentions what about the original plan with the Hedgehog. Robotnik tells him to simply bring in the Hedgehog to him, the blue one. And Sonic goes to see Robotnik, and Robotnik begins to plant the seeds of doubt, as the Time Eater told Robotnik it was Sonic who caused all of this mess. And Robotnik begins to play in the seeds of doubt, telling him how much of a failure he is, that he messed up everything, destroying the Time Stone, which held back the Time Eater, and everything he ever did was a mistake. Sonic denies what Robotnik says, saying that he does things for the greater good and to stop power from falling into the wrong hands, like his. Silver then shows up saying that they should start the generator, and they agree. Silver then uses some of his powers to charge up the reactor, powering up its energy. They then notice that the Death Egg begins to levitate, flying slowly up into the air, and then the boosters get activated, allowing it to fully fly. Robotnik's happy that the Death Egg is finally able to fly again, and he's very thrilled, honestly. The rest of them are now, as they have a super weapon to use against the Time Eater. And the Death Egg begins to fly off towards the location where the Time Eater is. And, yeah. Meanwhile, in a city, the Time Eater is just annihilating things, as we would see Team Dark tackling some of the Sonic drones, and Shadow would contact Sonic, asking where is he, to which Sonic reveals that he got backup in the form of the Death Egg. And the Death Egg approaches the Time Eater, but the Time Eater smiles maliciously at the Death Egg as he pretends to attack it using some of the armed weapons, and Robotnik launches out the Death Egg cannons to fire at it, only for it to create a black hole, and it enters on through. The group are a bit surprised, except for Eggman, and the Time Eater opens up a portal and basically throws them out, captures them. Sonic is confused what's going on, and Eggman reveals his true colours, that he's working with the Time Eater. However, Tails warns him that constant messing with the space-time continuum can completely alter the world. The Time Eater tells the Fox to shut up, as he's already messing with time, everything is coming to an end, and that the only thing left will be an empire. And Robotnik likes the sound of that. He then tells Stone to activate the execution pods, or the evacuation pods, and they put all of the animals in there, and Robotnik says his goodbye, as not only does the Time Eater drop them into what seemingly is a black hole, but they manage to survive that and they land down below into the water. With Robotnik happy about that, he tells Stone to chart a course to the one place that has caused him pain, anger, and misery. Stone asks where is it, and Robotnik replies, Green Hills, Montana, the home of that blasted Hedgehog. And the Death Egg, as well as the Time Eater, blasts off. As the group manage to get out of the water, thanks to Shadow and Rouge and Omega helping them, they realise where the Time Eater is going. It's heading to Green Hills. Sonic realises that Tom and Maddie are there, and dashes forward back to Green Hills, with the others obviously going with him.